Mr. Skankor was exactly correct. Jan is flying to Mount Everest today. Or at least we are going to attempt to do that. Actually, I'm quite confident we can make it there. Whether or not we're going to have a nice landing in Lukla, in Nepal, or not, is TBD. You have to stick around and find out. But we are getting ready to go here. We are sitting on the tarmac in our parking spot in Kathmandu, in Nepal. It is quite overcast. This is real live weather. Live time, even. Currently 7-ish a.m. in the morning, if I remember correctly. So it is quite early. Looks a little chilly, rainy, overcast. Not the greatest for sightseeing, but we will adjust. We can always adjust the weather if we need to. Let's have a quick look around here. So we are looking at our DHC-6 Actually, that's not what I want to do. We're sitting way over there. I actually like this drone camera for some reason. Like, one of the presets always puts you at your departure or arrival airport, which is a little bit confusing. So let's see if we can get a real bird's eye view here. It's not quite what I went to do. I was going to see if we could walk over there. We can, but very, very quickly. We can go walk over to the door, which we cannot open from the outside, but we downloaded this beautiful Nepal Airlines livery for the Twin Otter. And we flew this 2 weeks ago with a different livery. We flew it in Antarctica, and it actually flew quite well. It's a noisy bird, but it's quite enjoyable. So let's hop inside and let's open this door so we can actually get in properly. I am, of course, already sitting there, getting ready to go. And I believe the rear door can also be opened. I'm just not entirely sure how we do that. So we may have to just deal with just the front door. It's like I said, it's been 2 weeks since I've flown this. There was an update to this. This is version 1.03. Not quite sure what they actually changed because I literally just found out that there was a new version earlier today. But it does mean that we can give this another shot here. So we've got a map, which you can see on the bottom left of the stream. That's kind of the high-level flight path, and this is we're currently over here in Kathmandu, and we're going to fly straight east and then due north into the Himalayas. And Mount Everest, I believe, is sitting somewhere right around here, if I remember that correctly. So hopefully we'll get to see it. If not, we'll just change the weather with magic. You know, we'll just make it so that we can see it. As far as takeoff runways, we're just going to pick one. We will go depart runway 02, so we'll go down to the far south end here. We are currently sitting right there. We'll make our way down once we get the airplane going. So let's see if I can remember this. Let's get the door shut first so that it doesn't get too noisy in here, because like I said, this plane gets loud. We will unlock our flight controls because that's going to be super handy first. Let's just check to make sure that they are working free and clear. Everything here is looking good. Alright, now, I remember this from memory. We need some DC master and battery power. Not external. Battery, please. We've got our GPS. The flight plan is already programmed in here as well, so we should theoretically be able to follow the autopilot at some point if we like to. It might be especially handy when we get to some of those smaller, tighter turns around the mountains, so we'll probably fly a lot by visual flight rules. So we'll get the... I'm going to start the right engine first. It's not quite what I wanted, actually. I do want... the fuel pump on. And the starter set to the right. There we go. It is loud outside. Yes, there is a second seat to my right. There is also room for cargo or passengers in the back. This is, I believe, just the passenger version, the passenger variant of this plane. There's a couple different ones. There's one for cargo, there's one for skydivers in particular. Nobody sitting here, solo flight today. Got one engine going, that's good. Let me just zoom out that. Oh, I want this. Connect. Start flight. So let's just have a quick look at the gauges here. I think everything's looking okay. All of our warnings are for the left engine, which is of course not on yet. So thank you, Sam. I was just trying to get my mouse over there to do that. Appreciate it. Alright, so let's fire up the left engine then. We'll get that boost pump going. Left starter engaged. And fuel. So once the engine spun up, it's much quieter. That was one thing that they had some real issues with. By they, I'm talking about Aerosoft. The creators of this plane will get, let's see, actually, will my light switches work? Aha. Taxi light? Sure, why not? Position light. Pitot heats don't work. My switches for them don't, but we'll get them turned on anyways. Oh, we'll get the fasten seatbelt sign and the no smoking sign on, even though there's not really anyone aboard. Icing, we may have to turn on some icing when we get up there. We'll see. This plane has a lot of icing systems: prop de-ice, intake anti-ice, and various de-icer boots for the wings. Haven't played around with those yet. We'll see. We gotta get the generators on now that the engines are going. And that should get us to a position where the only warning lights we have now are reset props and pneumatic low pressure, which will go away once we start taxiing here. So, we'll get the prop full forward. Let's switch our autopilot system here over to the GPS system and we'll have a quick look at our flight plan. I of course don't remember how to actually navigate up and down here, but we've got it in here, so we'll figure that out if we need to do anything to it. We'll probably just stick to the flight plan. Probably not a great idea to veer off your plant route in the middle of the mountains. So we'll try to stick to that, but we'll go back to the map view. And how do I do that? There we go. It's interesting. I see. Okay. I was kind of hoping to see our flight plan in here. Maybe we'll see that when we start taxiing. Either way, we got to go down to the end of that runway there. Let's see. Park and brake released. All of our lights are on except for the landing lights. Batteries are on. That's all good. Warning lights are all off except for pneumatic low pressure, which, as I said, will go away. The gauges all look decent. Let's give it some taxi speed. Yeah, we're moving. Looks like there's not actually a real taxiway on this side. Looks like there kinda is on grass, but good thing with this plane is we can just taxi on grass. It doesn't mind. So we're already at 4,400 feet elevation. Climbing up to, I believe, about 22,000. Alright, let's hop on over to the runway and get ourselves lined up, figure out a couple of flight system things here. Thank you for the follow, Date Square. Welcome aboard. ATC clearance, yeah, we're just going to ignore ATC today. But ordinarily, yes, we would absolutely be wanting to do that. We'll get ourselves lined up here. And just not entirely sure why. My flight plan is in here, but why am I not seeing it? There are third-party systems. There's some networks that I fly on, sometimes called VATSIM, where actual human beings play the role of ATC, yes, and it's amazing. Oh, interesting. This flight plan is blank. Oh, no, it's not. There it is. Don't want to do that. I mean, our first waypoint should just be due east, so we'll see. We'll desire track 19. We're just going to wing it. We'll see. We will figure it out. All right. Park and brake off. We have flaps 10 set. Engines are going. We'll get the landing lights on now. Taxi lights off. And yeah, weather, it's not great. But let's give it a whirl here. Speeds are live, that's 80. We should be pretty much floating right now. There we go. We are in the air. Flaps up. No retractable gear here, so we don't have to worry about that. Alright, let's have a look and see here. Can we get heading mode, autopilot? What I actually want. Vertical speed. Do want to climb, because we do need to climb, because the mountains here are high. Set an altitude of 22,000 feet. Climb at 1,000 feet a minute. And there's obviously some mountains ahead of us there that we need to avoid rather rapidly here, so let's get ourselves turned. Actually might have to do this a little bit tighter here. Okay, our flight plan has appeared. Excellent. That's good. Just in time too, because we are... Oh, look at those mountains over there. It's going to be beautiful once we get out of this little soup bowl here. The nice thing about flying to Mount Everest is at that elevation, it is always good weather. Well, that's probably not true, but a lot of times it is good weather. There's our nice magenta line that we're going to be aiming towards. I just can't see these mountains, which is a little sketchy. Maybe we can shoot this gap here. Alright, autopilot's back on. Just gonna climb off track a little bit here. I don't like how this map here keeps zooming you guys in too much. There we go. That's better. And there's some of the fog leaving us here. It's kind of cool how the valleys are completely covered in fog. That could get very interesting for when we land in Lukla. Hopefully it's not quite like that. Alright, let's change our heading a little bit to sort of start slowly intercepting our filed route. We're going to bring our throttle and prop back a little bit soon, just not quite yet because we got to get out of these elevations first. So we're going to be flying right into the sun for parts of this. It's nice. Speaking of ATC, I just started up this little app called FS ATC Chatter.
India Alpha Mike 4642, contact approach 1248.
So these are real world, real life recordings of ATC snippets that will just play sort of at random intervals, give us a little bit of a realistic feel to our flight.
India Alpha Mike 4642, continue climb and maintain available 270. Okay, climb 270, 467.
Just crossing through 11,000 feet, halfway to our altitude. Yeah, some ambience, exactly. One of these days, I got to do a proper VATSIM flight with the Shacknews stream here. I'm not a pilot, no, I'm just an enthusiast, but I have learned a lot of stuff in this simulator. Like, for people who want to take it seriously, it's pretty cool. You can learn a lot. So I feel like I've learned a lot of things about what pilots do and how airplanes work.
351 now, climb initially 10,000 feet.
I don't even like flying in real life, or at least I didn't used to before the pandemic. Maybe that's different now. I feel like it's probably different.
Going to 1351, continue climbing and continue climbing initially 250. Take on 210,
I mean, I'm sure that there is way more to flying an airplane that you can't just learn in the sim, but I feel like I know enough now to the point where I understand more about how it works and what's going on, and Maybe I could. I don't know. I'll tell you what though, the using VATSIM for real life ATC, like actual human beings to give you instructions, is quite intimidating. It feels very realistic, and it's really cool though when you do it. So I'll have to do it again one of these days. I probably could. Scancore, yeah. I feel like I could push the right buttons at the right time. I always say that. I feel like I could probably push the right buttons at the right time to get an airplane to land, or at least very close to landing. It might be a little bit of a bumpy landing, but... And by landing, I mean the actual touchdown. I feel fairly confident that I could actually navigate. Okay, let's see if it is going to nicely line us up with our track here now. It should. Just switch from heading mode to nav mode, which means that it should now be flying... Why? It should now be flying along this pink line, the magenta line rather. It's not pink, it's magenta. To our next waypoint. And then we will... So we're going to fly in this direction for a little while, and then we're going to turn left, straight north. Yeah, that's the thing. Crosswinds, that kind of stuff is really difficult, I think, to simulate. I mean, you see the plane shaking around, but you don't feel it on your body. So I actually have an item on order that's coming next week, and I might have it for our next... Well, I probably will have it for our next stream, because I'm thinking next Thursday we're probably going to do another round of Rainbow Six Extraction, and then the week after that I'll be flying again. So I ordered this little attachment. It's called a butt kicker. And it's essentially, it works similar to a subwoofer, and it gets mounted to your chair, to like the pneumatic piston, like the actual pole that your chair sits on. And it will transmit force feedback essentially into the chair. So it's going to start kicking my butt during turbulence and, you know, taxing on the ground, and every time that like the flaps move or the gear goes up and down. It's apparently very, very good for flight sim. And I fly a lot in virtual reality, and it's apparently really cool to fly in VR and actually have your chair move a little bit. So I'm extremely excited for that. Yeah, you can use it for those games too, I suppose, for sure. I mean, lots of people use it for racing. Some people even attach multiple to their racing cockpit, so you can have like force feedback from different directions and stuff like that, which seems insane, but really cool also. But yeah, I think it probably works with any game. It basically just turns audio into, you know, I mean, sound is just motion. And instead of powering a speaker, it will essentially shake your chair, kick your butt. So that's my latest purchase for my sim cockpit that I can't wait to try out. Feel a lot better now about our altitude. Like we've got a little bit of clearance underneath us. And those mountains over there look beautiful. I've actually flown past Mount Everest once before in this game, and it's quite cool. I've never, speaking of turbulence, I've never actually landed at this airport we're heading to though, so it's going to be interesting. Some of the physical instruments, yeah, hold on. It's just, autopilot's being a little squirrely here. No, I'm not using VR right now. It's a little bit less smooth for you guys to watch in VR. Like, it is very smooth in my headset, but the monitor, like the mirror app that I would be capturing, not quite as smooth. So it's a little bit more... It's a better experience by yourself. Plus I can't sip on my wine when I'm in VR. At least not as well.
123, that's the ball 1, there with 124.
I was going to see if I have my... I think I have my webcam hooked up. Whoa. The weather has been going a little crazy. It seems to just like suddenly increase like mad. The weather changes and then the airplane really gets thrown around a lot. Jesus, airplane, what are you doing? Just really struggling for power here. It's actually, I think it's just the airplane actually, quite honestly, struggling a little bit to climb as fast as I wanted it to at these altitudes. So we'll slow our climb a little bit here. We're almost at 22,000 feet anyway. Yeah, the wind shear is quite extreme in the simulator, for sure. It's alright. There we go, that's a bit better on the speed. I'm just trying to... Let me see if I don't have... Yeah, I don't think I have my webcam plugged in. At least I can't find it.
Charlie arrival, runway 33 right, descend flight level 160.
Flight level 160 for approach runway 33 right, we are control 3
It's really strange though, I'm pretty sure it's here, so let me just see if I can't. Okay, there we go. We're getting somewhere. Just stand by. Okay, well, I don't know exactly why it is currently in like 4x3 format, but... Oh, wait. I think it just fixed itself. Okay, that's better. So I'm gonna switch over to this for a second. Here we go. So there is part of my, well, actually this is most of my cockpit, if you will. And I usually, like, I have this camera here like this on purpose so that you can see it. I'm actually going to try to put this back into the... Okay. Alright, cool. I can do that easily enough. Anyways, yeah, so I've got my... The one thing that's a little off camera here is just off to the corner is my Airbus Joystick. This guy right here. I use that when I fly the Airbus exclusively. Just because it's made for that. It looks just like the real one. Sorry, just checking on the plane. All right, we haven't hit any mountains yet. It is almost 10% of a plane. I've got a Stream Deck over here, an XL, which is not actually configured for this plane I'm flying, but for some other planes there would be a bunch of buttons on here. I've got a gauge down here. Got a bunch of switches underneath, that's kind of hard to tell. Some dials along the top. This is my Airbus panel on the right, which again is not in use at the moment. Small autopilot unit here that I am using for this plane. Obviously my yoke, main thing with some switches. Over on the side is the throttle quadrant. Both of these are honeycomb alpha and honeycomb bravo. And then I've got a radio panel and another autopilot panel and another small stream deck. And over here covered under this is a CDU that is again not used in this plane, and another little stream deck. Altitude, oh, that was just the altitude alert. Okay, so we're almost at our 22,000. I have a wheel behind me. I don't think you can't really see that. But behind me on this side is an actual like little racing cockpit that I actually reviewed for Shacknews. So there's a review on there somewhere. So that's where I do my sim racing, which I do a bit of as well. So let me switch back to that. But I think we can swap out the little map in the corner for the controls if you want to see that. Oh, and of course I have some pedals underneath the desk that are down here by my feet, which I just kicked. And I use track IR to move my head around and such. Okay, so it's a little bit of a bumpy flight from here on because we follow these small waypoints that go all the way around the mountains. And once we get over to like Mount Everest, we'll take her off autopilot and just kind of cruise around for a bit. But we've got a little ways to go still. I don't know. I hope 22,000 feet is high enough. Someone Google what height Mount Everest is, because that's pretty tall there beside us. But let's bring the prop back to 80, just so we can actually reduce our noise here a little bit. Get it a little bit quieter of a flight. So I'm trying to get these prop needles to be right around 80. And torque just kind of follows along with that. It's probably fine where it is, probably. Just keeping an eye on our speed. It bounces all over the place because of all the wind shear. Everest is 29,000. Okay.
Everest 90, contact 123.1,
Okay, so we're just gonna fly around Everest. Oh, it's so bumpy. Woo! See, this is what I'm looking forward to actually feel that in my butt. On my butt, in my chair. These kind of turbulences would be pretty, should be pretty immersive. It's quite the wind we've got going here too. I don't really have an indicator for crosswind, but I know we're crabbing quite a bit. Like the plane is, in order to keep the track, it's pointed its nose a bit further to the left, which means we have a fair bit of crosswind. That little clicking sound that you can hear is from this same light here, this trim in motion. Means the autopilot is constantly fighting the elements, if you will, the weather. Should actually, there we go, set our altimeter to standard, so we are right on 22,000 feet. Yeah, no icing yet. I don't even know. I imagine there'll be all sorts of alarms going off in here if there is icing, but I mean, for ice, as long as we don't go through any moisture, no clouds, we should be okay. Okay, I think we're actually flying through this valley here for a bit. So I think this altitude is fine. If I remember correctly, reading the flight plan, which I didn't come up with this flight plan myself, somebody created and shared it on flightsim.to. If I remember correctly, it called for an altitude of 22,000. Good thing is we have good visibility, so if we are about to fly into a mountain, you know, we'll just do something about that. Suppose we can turn our landing lights off at this altitude. See, on this plane, I don't use most of the buttons except for the yoke. I've got the light switches back here, and then I use the autopilot from real sim gear over here, which is enough. This is a fairly, you know, this doesn't have a lot of buttons to press, really. And a lot of them are also difficult to map to the hardware, so it's kind of just easier to click it with a mouse sometimes. It is so loud outside of this airplane. It's one thing I wish that they would let you do is change the volume of the engines from the outside. Because I understand why it's louder, because the camera is right next to the engine, but it's just super loud. And icing we would usually see, like if I stick my head over here, we should be able to see icing on the front edge of the wing here, and probably on the engine itself if there were any icing, but I think we're okay for now. Look at how shiny that prop is. So pretty. I did a flight yesterday in VR. I took off at like 5:30 in the morning or something local time, and the sun was just coming over the horizon, and the way the light was coming in through like the back of the window and hit the front of the fuselage and then reflected back into my eyes, it was just so cool. Now, if I remember correctly, when we get to Mount Everest, I think you can actually see some parts of like a base camp. And there's a perfect example of how sometimes the scenery injection stuff just kind of screws up. Like, I don't think that there would actually be trees on top of these. But I could be wrong. But it doesn't seem like there would be trees at these altitudes, maybe?
Descending climb 270. Please flight here.
I think I always forget that. There we go. We actually have a yaw damper as well. It doesn't, in a lot of planes the yaw damper comes on automatically with the autopilot, but not in this one. That should actually smooth our flight out a little bit as well. Just look down here and it's like there's a button right there. And there's actually a button on my autopilot panel, so I just hit that. Got the yaw damper on, that should make it a little bit more smooth, I think.
Good afternoon, LJ 1941, crossing level 167, descending level 160. 167 crossing from Romeo, it is 1001, I suppose, current speed. Information Romeo monitor, journey to 1001, ILS approach runway 309, LJ 1941.
So that's...
Copy 1 through the front 2 bar, so just 0 to 2. Everest 163. Bye-bye.
It's funny, there's actually other people at the airport we're flying at on sort of a flight tracker called Volanta that I use. So obviously this is a fairly popular spot in the world to go flying at.
flight level 380.
Flight level 370.
380, Everest 12.
I think Mount Everest is off to the right there. We're kind of circling around it.
Bahrain 124, it's 13, Express India 158. Express India 158, good afternoon, on 11,600, flight level 170.
India 158, good morning, Alpha level 350, just verify the final level.
The final level request is 350, sir, Express India 158.
Okay, India 158, Alpha level 350, on the capacity code, the level 2 will be level 5, Kathmandu.
Roger, sir. Stand by. I'm planning flight level 350 now. Express India 158.
So this is all China already that we're looking at over here. Technically crossed into Chinese airspace a little while ago, and we're heading back south in a moment towards Nepal and towards Lukla. Cannot help but feel like we're going to have to climb a little bit higher to get around this stuff here, so let's maybe do that. Let's go up to 28,000. Let's push the props full forward again. It just occurred to me also, I have no idea what elevation our destination airport is at. So we're going to have to look that up before we get there. Kind of important to know that. There's a lot of stuff we can just eyeball, but you just have to have some idea of what altitude we're actually looking at. Yeah, I think we're pretty much following, like, we're going to be following this valley, if you will, all the way up to Mount Everest there. And I'm quite sure that's Mount Everest straight ahead there. At least one of the peaks. Climbing at altitude is not easy. These engines are fairly powerful, but still, it's pushing us. quite a bit.
Good afternoon, Navira contact. Thank you.
This autopilot is definitely not like as accurate as some of the other ones. It's trying. I feel like its vertical, the vertical speed is actually double what I told it to do. Like it looks like we're consistently climbing at almost 2,000 feet per minute, and I have it set to 1,000. But I actually don't know if there is. Oh no, now it's at 1,000, so who knows? Okay, while we're climbing here, I'm going to have a quick look at... So I think I can at least get an elevation for Lukla while I stick my head out the window. Calm down. Lukla Airport, 127 flights this week, 2 flights today. This does not tell me an elevation though. Is Navigraph going to do that for me? So we have charts for that, but I feel like it doesn't actually have any charts for Lukla. But it does have an elevation, 9,337 feet. Okay. 9,337. With a runway that is only 500 meters long. Oh, man. So we're going to turn left here, and I think we're going to shoot right through that gap there between those two peaks. Alright, 26,000 is probably fine. Yeah, we do want to go to the left here, so... drop up here is extreme.
Get 8650, static take one. Static take one.
So this, I think, is the actual... I think this is the actual peak of Mount Everest there. Try to see if we can do a loop around the peak here, and then we'll continue on our flight plan, which takes us down that way, down to the valley to Lukla. It's just an exercise of trying to keep the plane somewhat steady here. Ready, steady, deadly. Yeah, that sounds about right. Pretty sure this would not be cleared with ATC here. It's so bumpy, it keeps tossing out the stall warning because it keeps putting us in like some really crazy vertical speed patterns here. We are on full throttle, full torque, everything. Just, it's bouncing us around a lot. Ooh, and it's really messing with our airspeed. This is a terrible idea, by the way. I don't know if we're going to actually survive this. I don't know. We are pulling up. Woo. That was a little spicy. That was a lot spicy. Take my hand off the wheel. You know what? I think you can see that if we ever take the helicopter up here, there are actually some helipads that people have built for like the Everest base camp and stuff. It is just not, like this plane, the wind is just kicking our ass all over the place up here. That was actually, that was very, very sketchy. No, don't go that way. Well, you go that way. Turn to the right. I think if you see snow swirls on the ground, then the next thing you also see is a plane on the ground, and we didn't have skis equipped. We're 20 to 21, okay. Alright, I think it's taking us where we want to go. Now the next challenge will be actually getting us down from 28,000 feet to like 9,337. Which is not so easily done. Safely, anyway.
5 Victor Golf, 60 feet a month, 79, and cross path, we get time 39 for repair.
Cross path, the 39 and 4, yeah, Mach 79 and 35 feet.
Thank you.
Well, we survived. Oh, it's going to fly us right into the mountain here, essentially, because of... The autopilot really wants us to be... Let's get away. Let's keep our distance a little bit. The winds just go nuts near the peak.
Morning Cowboy is 511 2000.
158.
511 11,000 feet, Cowboy 511.
Yeah, the planet is quite the thing, isn't it? I've been doing a world tour. I've visited over 100 countries so far in the flight simulator, and it's amazing what you get to see. It is just really cool. I love it, and I've been, flying. I started in England, and I went west through North America, South America, then crossed the Atlantic over to through Africa, through Southeast Asia. And now making my way back through the Middle East. My next leg is to Turkey and then back through Europe to complete visiting every country and landing near each country's capital city. So... Okay, I think it's at this point now that we can start thinking about descending, and I think we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it like 1,000 feet at a time, or a couple thousand feet at a time. Very slowly, slow and steady here wins the race, I think. We're back on our flight, on our GPS course. That's good. It does make our life a little bit easier. According to our FMS, our GPS, about 35 minutes till we reach our destination. That sounds about right. We're going to go through some pretty cool scenery here, through these mountains. And we're just going to do this nice and slow until we hopefully get, hopefully there's no clouds in the valley where Lukla is. It's possible it could be cloudy though. We're gonna we're gonna hope for autopilot. What you doing? Why does it have the nose up so much? It literally is just regaining all the altitude that we just gained. Get down. I have it set to 26,000, yeah. This autopilot just does not really like to... It does lateral navigation quite well, but vertical, not so much. I don't know why. Looking a little bit better. It's at least taking us down. We're just crossing through 27,000. Let's go down to 24,000. We're just going to slowly step our way down. Hey, Quart? How's it going? Old school airplane, yeah. But man, the winds up near Everest are not for the faint of heart. Looks like it's actually trying now to follow my autopilot guidance here for vertical speed. Seems to be doing better, and as soon as I say that, it stops working so well. Quake corner. Nice. Alright, so we're heading down this valley for a little ways. I don't remember, no, I have no idea what you're talking about, but I appreciate it. Close to 24, let's go to 22. Hey, Mech Weirdo. No, I'm not in VR right now. I should really, though. I really should. Flying in VR is so much better. I'm using Track IR, which is just a little attachment on my headset for the head movement. It's really good as well, but VR is just, it's next level. So much better. Maybe I'll do the next flight in VR, to be honest. What's your what VR headset are you using? The Quest 2. I have that. I fly with a Reverb G2 now, but the Quest 2 is pretty good. I quite liked it, but it is more difficult to get things quite as clear. What did I do with the Quest? I always used the what's the Quest toolkit? Is that what it's called? Because you can crank up the resolution a bit. It requires a pretty beefy system to do that, though, but it does kind of help make everything a little bit more clear. I'm not scary, Sugar Shack. We are actually getting someone looking over at my other map here. We're actually getting closer. Yeah, things are... Yeah, it's... What resolution do you have? higher resolution is the key. The problem is you have to balance it with performance, right? Because you don't want to lose too many frames. It's all good, Quert. So it's pretty challenging to get higher clarity. So what you want is, in the Quest toolkit, you want the resolution cranked up quite a bit. And you also want your base resolution in the sim as high as you can handle it. Especially for the clarity on like gauges and text, that's very important. But it does come at a cost of frames. So, though the motion reprojection on the Quest 2 is quite good. Okay, we are really way too high now. Like you can see, we're following this. We're following this valley. We're gonna bounce around like crazy, but we have to get down there. We have to start getting down there. Our airport, destination airport, is at 9,400 feet. I guess we can do a couple loops here if we have to, but we'll do our best. High resolution makes the text more clear. So you want at least the in-game resolution, you want it at the scale at 100% at least. And then you can crank up the Oculus Quest to like something ridiculous, like 200%, like 5,000 pixels by 5,000 pixels. That helped me quite a bit, but I have a 3090, so I have a pretty powerful computer with a pretty powerful GPU, so that was still manageable. But that's the key really, is to try to increase the resolution as much as you can without losing too many frames. And I don't remember what the magic number is. I think it's 22.5, and then the Quest will do motion reprojection like 3 times up to like 90 or close to 90 to make things still, you know, feel smooth. It's definitely doable though. Just depends on how much horsepower you have in your PC. But I was pretty happy with the Quest 2 for a while. I really hope that the valley that we're flying into is not shrouded in clouds too much. It's somewhere over there. We are going to be flying like a little right hook. So I really hope we'll be able to see something. It's such a short runway, we're going to have to come in pretty slow. Yeah, give it a try, Mick. It's probably going to take a little bit of back and forth. Just sort of fine-tuning it. But the Quest 2 is a really good headset. And I think, honestly, the most versatile of all of them. Because you can do so many things with it. I upgraded from that to the Reverb G2 specifically for flight simming. And the Reverb G2 is definitely more crisp. But it does have a smaller sweet spot. Like, I feel like the area that is clear and sharp is smaller than in the Quest 2, so there's some trade-offs there. Okay, we're getting down to some decent altitudes here now. I'm feeling much better about where we're at. We're at 16,000. We'll go down to 12. I think we can get down to 12 in this valley. No, I'm not an actual real-life pilot. I'm just a sim nut that never used to be a sim nut until Microsoft Flight Simulator. But I have watched a metric crap ton of YouTube videos, about how aviation works and how planes work. I just play. That's right. I just play one on TV. Thanks for the follow, not Tabby. I just play a pilot on the internet. It's fun though. There's lots to learn if you're interested in this stuff. And I didn't even know that I was interested in this stuff until I started digging into it and I started learning things. And I was like, man, this is really cool to know how all these systems work, how the autopilots work, how the planes work, how ATC communication works. Like all of that is very cool. Once you fly in VR, McWeirdo, there is like no going back. Even though it's not as crisp, like right now I'm streaming and I'm looking at a 40-inch 4K display. So like things are crisp and clear and look amazing on my screen, but it is still not at all as immersive as a VR headset. Hey, from Paraguay, South America. I flew to Paraguay a while ago. Actually, many months ago on my world tour. Do they still have simplified key? And oh yeah, they have. I mean, you can get crazy, like what I've done here. But they also have very simple controls, mouse and keyboard. Which is probably not ideal, but even if you have just like an Xbox controller or something, totally doable and works. It's really great because you can be as advanced and you can spend as much time and learning and money on equipment as you want or not, right? And I think you can still have a lot of fun just hooking up a gamepad and playing. It's definitely a FPS hungry game. Okay, so we're getting to 10,000 here. We are at 10,000 now. Airport elevation was 9,337 feet, so we don't really want to go any lower until we can actually see where this airport is. I've got a couple maps open here. You're a private pilot, multi-engine VFR pilot. That's cool. I think a lot of pilots that are studying for IFR things are using things like Flight Sim and VAT Sim to just get practice in, because it's obviously it's not as easy to get into an actual plane to practice. It's pretty easy to get into the simulator at home and try stuff. It's going to take us... Is it going to take us down this valley? It's hopefully not going to take us over that ridge. IFR is cool. VFR is also cool. I actually feel like I know more about IFR than VFR at this point. Because I usually fly IFR stuff. Business class jets, airliners. But to be honest, IFR stuff is not always as enjoyable or as fun, entertaining on a stream, right? Because a lot of times you just sit there and it's like, all right, well, we're cruising at 38,000 feet, and we're just going to be flying in a straight line for the next 2 hours. It's not as exciting in a stream. So... Oh man, it snakes us around there quite a bit more until we get there. Okay. I hope we're not too low. We might actually be too low already here. Yeah, I know. I feel like VFR should be the foundation. I struggle with VFR. Like I feel a lot less confident in this approach that we're flying here now, because I have no approach programmed in. I have no arrival. There's not going to be an ILS. There's not going to be a glide slope. There is just going to be a hope that I see an airfield at some point, and as soon as I see an airfield, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to be turning the autopilot off and try to land this baby. It's scary when you're flying VFR in an area you're absolutely not familiar with. Like I have no idea. I don't even know where this airport is. Like I know it's ahead of us somewhere. Actually, it's over to our right quite a bit. It's got to be down this valley somewhere. Because if I look at my map here, Just gonna drag this over on the screen. Whoops, not like that. But you can see we're here. This is our destination right there, so we still have a little ways to go, and that's why I'm slightly concerned that we're actually too low already. But again, no arrival chart, no nothing chart. I'm just eyeballing all of this. I just know that we have to get down to 9,400 at some point. And actually, so far, so good. I feel like once we get to a place where I can see the airport, or at the very least see it on the GPS and have some idea of what the GPS path looks like, we'll be in decent shape. I never used to like flying in real life, and now I'm seriously thinking I wonder if I would enjoy flying in real life. Are you a pilot for, like, is that your occupation or is it a hobby? So we're gonna skirt around this little edge here. So I feel like we should be down in that valley actually. Of course, these flight plans here are also not super accurate. Yeah, I think it's a straight shot down the valley here. So I think once we make this turn, I'm probably gonna take her off autopilot, because I think we're just following the river in. Yeah. So we are just following the river that runs down in the bottom of this valley underneath us. And now I'm also like not 100% certain if the actual elevation is 9,300. That's what Navigraph said. I should just double check this real quick. Tenzig-Hillary, Lukla, Nepal. Elevation 9,337. Yeah, I mean, there's no charts here, but runway 06, runway 24. We're going to be coming into runway 06. So we have a heading, we have an elevation. It's down there. Okay, so I can see stuff. This here, there's our airport. There's our airport. Let's do some work. We're going to set the altitude just to 9,300, which is supposed to be the elevation. It is a hell of a route. This is not for the faint of heart. It is fun actually. It really is. I'm just scared. I'm just scared that we're not going to have a nice landing here, or any landing at all. Altimeter is set to local. What is it? 3003. Okay, so we should be good. We only have to drop about 500 feet. Flaps extended. Flaps 10 at 105. Okay, so we can go flaps 10 here. There's no way it's at 9,300. Unless I mean, I may not be looking at the right thing. Is it on this side of the hill here? Oh, it might be on the side of the hill here. I don't think it may not be. I don't think it's down here straight ahead. I think it's over here at like 1 o'clock.
Radar contact, Continue ground level 220 and left head 165, Kuwaiti 1775.
Yeah, that elevation has to be wrong on Navigraph. Because we're at 9,000 and there's nothing 300 feet above us that's an airport.
Lima Yankee Charlie 106, your radar identified. Your radar contact 210. Confirm you're going to continue on Lima 703. We're going to continue with
I'm not actually online. We are in Nepal. This is Lukla, Victor, November, Lima, Kilo. Oh, is it 06? I think I have the runway in sight, and it ends, of course, on a mountain slope. Runway in sight, I think right here. I think this is the runway. It's definitely not 9,300. I mean, at least we're going to stop when we hit the side of the mountain, right? Yeah, that's the runway for sure. The question really is, can we get down here? It feels like we're a little high. This is the other thing about VR, is you get to judge altitudes way better. Victor, November, Lima, Kilo. Lukla. That's what it's called. Oh man, this is flaps full. We do have reversers, thankfully. Yeah, we are way too high. Okay, well. Oh man, and I have only landed this thing like once or twice. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Alright, well, that did not go as planned. Just lost the airspeed there. Just lost the airspeed, but also got thrown by the fact that we were off by a little bit of altitude. The good thing is, we crashed close enough to town that we probably don't have to eat our passengers. I'm actually really curious. Did this count this as a landing? It did. It's not gonna count.
Continue flight level 400 and request direct home 8191. Standby.
So this is where we were supposed to get to. And where did we end up? We're down here, I think, in the bushes. We are somewhere. There we are. I see a shadow anyways. Yeah, we are. There we are. Up, down. Let's send the rescue party. Just over here somewhere. I've lost it again.
Nippon 364, contact Central Approach 119 now, decimal 17.
Airbus 119 on 17 on Nippon 364.
Honestly, that is the first landing that I've had that resulted in a total crash where I missed the runway, and I'm kind of... I kind of wonder if I can restart part of this flight. Oh, there's our beacon. Found it. Found the beacon. Right there. There we are. Ah. So strobe light, just a little sad red flight flashing there. Okay, I'm gonna try this because I feel like giving this a shot. I'm not gonna restart the whole flight. I'm gonna see if I can put us on approach. What's ironic is that according to Volanta, I actually did land there. Like, it's like, yeah, welcome to Lukla. You made it. With a landing rate of 3,800 feet negative. So we didn't really make it. Okay, so this is where we wanted to go. I'm gonna see if I can, like, if we could fly this approach again. I just wonder if we can see. The problem is the altitude is 1,500 feet, which of course is, I mean, is that 1,500 feet above the ground? Maybe. Want to give it a shot anyway. Let's see. Let's make the weather. Let's go with clear skies here. Starting an airplane in mid-air in the simulator is bound to be a disaster, but I'm going to give it a try. It's worth a shot. It is most likely 100% not going to work. Because the problem is... Oh, well, maybe it works. Maybe it is going to work. Maybe it is going to work. I wasn't sure if the plane was going to be in a position where we can actually control it. Now, of course, I don't actually know where the airport is now. It is over on our right, isn't it? We're actually low. Is that it? It's in the shadow. Yeah, there it is. Okay, we're gonna give this another try. We gotta just maintain our speed this time. So we literally just fell short and out of the sky. And that's my inexperience with this particular airplane, to be quite honest. We're gonna try to at least hit the runway this time. Oh, welcome, Lukla. Full reverse, full brakes, full brakes. Yeah! Does that count? That counts, doesn't it? I would say that counts. Brake on. Please throw up out of the window. I mean, that's better than the first one.
Control, good evening. China Eastern 592, maintain flight level 230.
China Eastern 590 control, good evening. Identified, maintain flight level 330, report Milan.
Maintain flight level 230, report Leland, China Eastern 592.
I just don't have this. Okay, there's my stats, right? Now that was still not a very good landing. But it was a landing that we actually ended up on the ground. And that's something. It is a really beautiful place here. Like, very, very, very beautiful. Look at these views. This runway is insane, by the way. Absolutely nuts. This is a stock airport, by the way, too. This is not like additional scenery. That's just what Microsoft or Aerosoft have done here. It's very cool. All right. I'm going to leave it at this. I'm going to count this as a landing. I don't quite think I can submit this to my virtual airline though, because that landing rate's pretty poor. We'll see. We're going to leave it here. Thank you very much for tuning in. I think next week on Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be playing some Rainbow Six Extraction with the guys. And the following week after that, we're going to do another flight. And we'll see. Maybe we will do it in... Maybe I'll do it in VR. Maybe it will be a VATSIM flight. Who knows? Let me know if there's somewhere particular you want me to fly to. And we'll give it a shot. So thank you very much for tuning in. For those that have followed and are new to the channel, thanks for checking out Shacknews. Be sure to check out shacknews.com for all the latest gaming news, guides, reviews, features, long reads, and of course Shack Pets. If you haven't checked that out yet, it's on the App Store and the Google Play Store. Basically a cool little free app where you can rate people's pets and vote on which pet is cuter, and then of course enter your own. So check that out, shackpets.com. And I'll see you all next week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Be good to each other. Have a good one.